Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast, where you get to hear all kinds of fishermen tell their stories and share their faith. I'm your host, Cam Steele. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Cam, and this week we have another podcaster on the show. He's one of the hosts of the first fishing podcast I ever listened to. They recently went full-time with their brand and business, which consists of the podcast, but they also build trolling motor mounts and other kayak accessories. They've also launched a woodworking business called Victory Woodworking and Designs. He's Josh Carter, host of the One Objective Bass Fishing Podcast. Josh, man, welcome to the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me on, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here. And first off, why don't you just introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us how you got into fishing?
Well, like I say, my name's Josh Carter. I'm one of the co-owners of One Objective, James, which you'll have on here shortly. Me and him kind of started our own podcast about 5 years ago. We're working on our fifth year now, shall I say, and just been going at it ever since, man. Just kind of started as a small show wanting to talk about fishing, just kind of give us an excuse to talk more fishing,
Absolutely.
But I mean, kind of getting into fishing. I've been fishing since I was, I remember my dad taking, I don't even know how old I was. I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. And when I finally caught my first big smallmouth with my dad, I was hooked ever since. So it's just been nothing but history ever since.
I hear you. So, in a nutshell, this is the main part of the whole podcast here. In a nutshell, tell us what you believe in.
As in faith, as you're talking about, I'm a big Christian. I am. Everything that I have done when it comes to family, when it comes to even our business side of things, is I've always prayed about it, for wisdom for decisions, because it's so easy for us to say, I'm just going to do this and hope it all works out. I want to pray about it for a while. I want to think about it and see what the Lord kind of puts out there as a sign. He's not always going to say, hey, yes, do this. Hey, don't do that. He's going to give you signs of, yes, think about this a little bit longer. Or, for instance, we just went full time with One Objective, and also it's another side business we got called Victory Woodworking and Design. And I had a really good job. James had a really great job, making really good money, supporting our family with no headaches, really. We went to work every day, we made our money, we come home, but it wasn't gratifying like it is what we do now. I still got his headaches for being a business, but for about, 3 or 4 months, when this opportunity come up, we really started getting hot and heavy about if we're going to be leaving our jobs or not. I prayed, me and my wife prayed, is like, Lord, if this is the right thing to do, please open the doors and let it be known that this is what we need to do. If it's not, please shut them, please intervene with whatever you can and tell me, hey, Josh, this is a dumb idea, don't do it, because you're putting your family's livelihood at stake there. And all of a sudden started getting these signs, like just the orders started going through the roof with our business. Our Facebook picked up. Granted, all that stuff doesn't really mean a whole lot, but when you're in social media and when you're in business that deals with the media, it means everything. And our Instagram picked up, and our YouTube, and just all that stuff started going through the roof. And you kind of look at it and you're like, well, man, nothing bad is really happening saying this is a bad idea. Now, granted, could it still be a bad idea? I don't know. But as of right now, it feels like the Lord really placed his hand over our families and our business and saying, keep on going, guys. Y'all are doing good. So.
Awesome, man. So, congratulations on One Objective becoming full time. That's awesome.
Thank you.
If you wouldn't mind, kind of expand on that, on your prayer life a little bit. So you said, you mentioned looking for signs and some of the signs that you look for in that particular instance. But for you, how do you know when something is a sign?
It's really hard to, for me to, I don't know, I'm trying to think how I want to word that. Every person's different. You know what I mean? How their life is and what goes on in their life and how things change. And when something's out the realm, it's like, man, really? Like, how is this? Why is this happening? Why is it? If we have a bad day, for instance, and you kind of look at me like, well, really, why? What did I do to deserve this? Or why is this happening? And you really don't. You're not going to get no answer. But for me, like I say, when me and my wife was praying about it and really asking for a sign, it kept becoming like more and more obvious, like how things were going at work, for instance. There was things that was going on there that was really kind of pushing me away, which is kind of odd because I really enjoyed what I was doing. I was a diesel mechanic, and I had a service truck, and I drove around and I fixed equipment when it broke down, and it was actually a rewarding job. You were kind of the hero that come there and helped that contest get back up and going, so he could get back to doing what he needed to do to make money as well. So, but things there started kind of pushing me away a little bit, with either, I don't want to say confrontation with people, but just things that kind of irritate you a little bit more than they usually do. There was just some odd things with that, but then, like I say, the more to the signs was for me was like, we got to praying about it. Our motor mounts were selling okay, but it wasn't like setting the world on fire. You couldn't make a living off of what we were making. You could have a good hobby business with it, but it wasn't at a point where you can make a good living. And when we got to praying about it, all of a sudden, we picked up. All of a sudden, we've got a dealer with Rogue, and then we got a dealer with Biono Batteries, which they were a sponsor of ours, but we were talking about being a dealer for them. And then we started getting sales with rigging people's boats, kayaks out. People were actually bringing their boats to us, still are, to rig out their boats, and paying, which is a good dollar amount to have it all done, because they liked how we did our boats, how clean they were. So that was kind of me. That was a sign, like, hey, this is the right thing. Like, we were picking up more sales, generating more money. I was able to support our family a little bit more with it, So it felt like, to me, that felt like a sign. Now, like, say, 3 months from now, it all could crash and burn, and maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe that wasn't the sign.
Well, we will hope not. So you mentioned that you were a big Christian. So tell us the story of how you came to believe in Christ.
Well, it was kind of a crazy time in me and my wife's life. Which when I first started dating my wife, it was in 10th grade, and she was going to like the Wednesday youth meets and stuff like that. And my family, we talked about God. But they wasn't church. They didn't go to church, My grandmother, she was a Jehovah's Witness, and I would go a couple of times with her. But at that age, you're kind of like you get to talking to them in Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't do like Christmas and all that stuff. And as a kid, I'm like, no way, man! Like, I'm not doing this religion because I'm not going to get my Christmas present. So that I don't know. As a kid, you think of the simple things like that. Nothing. You don't think of the big story aspect of it, but anyways, when me and my wife got to dating in 10th grade, I started going to youth meets with her, and at the time, the youth teacher, youth pastor, was Pastor Joe, and he kind of took us under his wing and kept us close, talked to us all the time. We're dating, so he's trying to keep us on the right track and not say messing up and ruining something down the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
As young kids at that age think about. But so he kept us on track and talked about those things and made sure that we understood where we were at in life with it. And but then kind of fast forward to after we got married, before we got actually before we got married, we partied some, nothing crazy, like 20-some-year-olds do. And got into, I raced cars and street bikes and stuff like that. Got away from fishing for a long time. But then it was something about when, after we got pregnant, my wife got pregnant, it's like something clicked in me. You know what I mean? Like, I knew then that I needed to take care of my family. I knew that the life that we were living wasn't a life I wanted to bring my kid up in, with the partying and cars and motorcycles and all that stuff. So, anyways, once my son was born, we started just going back to church, and our youth pastor actually moved up to being the main pastor of the church. And we started going back and talking, and me and my wife, after we had my son, was kind of going through some struggles in life. Just as, people, all married couples will go through a time in their life where, the marriage ain't always the best. And, dude, I had a dream one night. This is what really brought me in. I'm trying to make this long story short here. This is what kind of really brought me in. I had a dream, and I was stressing about a job I was at, and me and my wife's relationship was kind of struggling. And I had this dream, and there was some, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it was some verses from Matthew, but it was pretty much talking about where the Lord took care of everybody, like when everybody came and there wasn't enough food for everyone. And, he said that, they're like, we don't have enough food to feed all these people. And Jesus told them that, check your food again. And there was enough bread, there was enough food for everyone. But what I got out of that whole side of it, and some other verses that was with it, was, don't rely so much on other people. Put all your faith in me. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to get you through this. And this is where, just come to me when you have any questions. When you have any doubts, always come to me. And, dude, I woke up. I called my pastor the next day when I was at work and told him what was going on. He was like, man, that's the Lord speaking to you. He's trying to call you back. He knows you're going through some tough times, and he's calling you back. And ever since, man, it's like, that's what we've tried to do, is put the Lord in the center of everything we do. Every time we have an issue, or even you don't have an issue, you pray every day just to hope that, hey, you have a great, safe day, and you always return back home to your family. That's kind of my main point, my turning point when I really come to Christ and really accept. I got baptized like 2 weeks after that, and this has been history ever since. Lord's the center of everything we do now.
Awesome. So, what would you say that faith means to you?
Faith to me is something that I don't know how I word that. Faith to me is something that I have as like we was at church this weekend was talking, is our foundation of everything we do. That's what faith means to me. It's my foundation on how I build my life, how I build my family's life, is because God's our foundation and we build up off of that, So it's what holds us together. It's what keeps us together. And if it wasn't for Him, who knows where me and my wife would be at right now. So faith for me is, like I say, it's my foundation. That's what faith is to me.
So are there any specific times out on the water that you can think of that have affected your faith in any way?
I will say I did have a very scary moment years ago when I actually just got into kayak fishing. Was affected faith. This was a good one because this actually brought me closer to the Lord because I thought I was going to meet Him that day. But we were out in the kayak, and the water temperature was really, really cold. It was one of them nice spring days where it was like 60, 65. And the water temperature was still in the, I'm going to say, very low 50s, if not high 40s.
Okay.
And ended up flipping the kayak. Got in a bad spot, got the kayak flipped, and the river was up a lot more than I thought it was. I didn't judge the river like I should have. So I ended up, my dad had to somewhat get me over to the bank, and because I couldn't hardly swim, my legs and everything was trying to lock up on. I've been in the water for a little while. But yeah, that right there was fine. I got over to the bank, and man, it was a whole embarrassing moment. There was the whole rescue squad over there, all that dramatized mess with it. But there was some things that was going through my mind. With my faith, because at the time you don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
I had my life vest on, but you just never know, man. That stuff can change in a heartbeat. So it kind of made me look at life a little bit different and understanding how fast things can happen. And, knowing that, the pastor always talked about it, don't say you'll do it tomorrow because you don't know, you're not promised tomorrow.
Yeah, so definitely.
That was kind of one of those moments for me where I was like, kind of rethought life. And when I go out and do things now, because I'm like, just like that, all that whole situation could have changed real quick. Especially if my dad wasn't there,
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that situation has brought me closer to faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And that being said, is there anything that you want to throw out there in terms of safety?
Yeah, when you kind of, I know we all get excited when we get those 60 and 70 degree days, especially in March. But in safety wise, even if it's 100 degrees outside and it's the middle of summer, always wear your life vest. Especially in the kayak side. I know people in bass boats, they wear a life vest running in the lake, and they take it off and go up there and go fishing on the front deck. They got so many nice inflatable life vests out there now that are comfortable to wear all day. I always recommend just wearing your life vest. And then, they talk about it so much around here with, the air, if the air temperature and the water temperature don't equal 120, then, it's dangerous. You can get hypothermia really quick. So there's a lot of great winter gear out there for people to wear like if you like kayak fishing. I don't kayak fish during the wintertime, but they got some really nice suits out there for guys. It's a little pricey, but you can't put a price on your life. So like I said, they do got some really nice suits out there. But always just be dressed and be safe for the conditions you're about to fish. That's the main thing. Don't think it can't happen to you because it can quickly.
Awesome. Well, let's bring it back to fishing for a second here. So what fishing memory or story would you say means the most to you?
Oh, man. I got several with my dad. I got several with my buddy James that does the podcast show. But I'm going to say, really, I think that I got two of them. And one was with my son when I had my bass boat. He was probably about 2 or 3. He was about 3. He was out fishing off this point, and it's a good spot to throw a Carolina rig, especially towards right before dark. And all you do is take it out and you drag it like you do a Carolina rig. And so I cast it out and I gave it to my son. I said, "Here, just reel it in real slow." So he's reeling it in, and all of a sudden he's like, "Dad, I'm hung up." So I go grab it, and I go to pop it. When I go to pop it, the fish comes jumping out of the water. And I hand him the reel back. I'm like, "He's got a big one." He caught like a 3.5, 4 pound largemouth. And after that, he's fished a couple of tournaments when we won a tournament together. But I want to say for that instance, that was probably one of my favorite memories, is carrying on something that I have a passion for and I love, and getting my son involved with it, seeing him have some success with it. And then the same thing with my daughter, just going perch fishing. I haven't been able to get her hooked up into a big bass, but just having her go out and catch perch. We'll go out swimming at the lake or something in the boat and pull up on a little lay down and give her a Mickey Mouse ride and let her catch perch. And where she can see them swimming around and catch them,
Right.
When she caught her first one, that was like really special to me. Now she is like, I think she's more of a bigger fisherman than my son is. She loves it.
That is awesome. So, as a father and as a husband, what life advice do you wish that you had been able to start off with, and that you were going to make sure that you pass along to your kids?
you know, I don't want to sound like, I don't know if it sounds cliche or anything like that. It's just mainly following your dreams. You know, a lot of people say that, follow your dreams. You're a movie star, so follow your dreams. But for me, I would say, you know, just go after something you love, you know, and what makes you happy in life. We all go to work every day. Some of us go to a job that we don't like, you know, and you sit there at your desk, and I see memes all the time, like people, you know, trying to think of the next invention to get me out of this place, you know, this $1 million invention. And for me, like, my family, I love my family to death. I love my mom, I love my dad, but I guess they're more like a realist kind of people. You know, they're like, when I was growing up, I said, man, I'm going to be a pro fisherman. That's what I want to be when I grow up. I'm going to be a pro fisher. I'm going to fish at Bass Tour. David Dudley lived near me, and, you know, I really looked up to David Dudley, and I wanted to be just like him. But my dad, you know, he's always like, son, that's too hard. Just focus on getting a good career and just going after that. That's too hard of a career to do. And all that. And I even told him, you know, even if I don't make it a pro, I just want to be in the fishing industry. He goes, oh, you can't make a living in the fishing industry. It ain't going to happen, blah, blah. So there was never no encouragement there. So for me to be where I'm at right now and doing what I love to do, go to work every day, doing what I love to do, maybe not as a pro fisherman, but in the fishing industry, you know, that's what I like to carry on to my kids. And other people that listen to our show, our podcast show, is follow your dreams and try to work to doing what you love to do later on. Not everybody has the best opportunity to start out like that, but if you work really hard and put your time in, and like I say, put the Lord first. If it's your time, and the Lord will open the doors. He'll make it right.
Absolutely. So, going back to fishing, what fishing advice do you wish you had been able to start off with, or that you are going to make sure that you pass along to your kids?
Fishing advice. That's a hard one. I don't know. You know, I guess not be so caught up in being, well, at my time when I was growing up, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I guess for my kids, what I would tell them is go out there and go fishing, not get so caught up in being something big in the fishing industry, because it's really tough. It'll come along if it's meant to be kind of deal, and if they want to be, like I said earlier, then they work hard to do it. But at the building blocks of fishing and the fishing industry, it's just kind of go there and have fun and fish and learn the sport, and not focus so much on, man, if I do really good at this, I can get sponsors, or if I do really good at this, you know, one day I can do whatever. But, you know, like, for me, when I was a kid, I was like, man, I'm gonna start fishing. I'm gonna fish tournaments so I can get some sponsors, and they'll start paying me. And, you know, don't get so hyped on that. Just go out there and enjoy the sport of fishing, and it'll all come. You know, if it's meant to be and you work hard at it, it'll all come. It'll all come in place.
Definitely. Absolutely. So, all right. So, what fish is at the top of your bucket list to catch?
You know, I've always wanted to go like deep saltwater fishing. I mean, I do a lot of bass fishing, and I've caught some muskie. I've caught a lot of striper. But I've always wanted a fish that would just totally burn me out, and I've heard a tuna does that. So I love, like, a bucket list fish for me would be a tuna. And like I said, I don't do a lot of saltwater fishing, but I would love to go out with somebody one time and catch a big tuna. If not, just wear me out. That's what I want.
Absolutely. So is there a fishing spot that's on the top of your bucket list?
Louisiana was always kind of one of them, just because I see, you know, bass smashers go down there, and, you know, the fisheries look just so good. So we went down there and fished that for the national championship last year. But, you know, Florida, I'm going to say Florida and Texas are the two bucket list states. Actually, I had a third one I want to go to. I want to go up north and catch smallmouth too, but like St. Johns River or something like that. But like Florida and Texas, I'm going to say probably like Lake Fork, something like that, in Texas. That I would really like to go do some fishing, and then also go down like Okeechobee and all those chains of lakes and all that down there. They're kind of on my bucket list, and hoping I can at least knock one of them off this year.
Absolutely. So let's say you're out fishing, you're on the boat or on a bank with a fishing buddy. What does your typical conversation, what is it centered around?
It all depends. It depends on the buddy too. Me and James out fishing. We're just talking about bait that we've seen on Facebook or whatever. If it's or our new spot that we seen on Google Maps that we'd love to go fish sometime. Or if it's just that time to get out and talk about family. Asking him, checking on him. Hey man, how you been doing? Or how's the kids doing? How's the wife doing? And the same thing with me. He does the same thing. If it's my son, a lot of times I try to talk to him about, he loves playing Fortnite. So I try to talk about him, things that interest him, and what he likes doing while he's fishing. Because if you try to, especially with the kids, if you try to just mainly talk fishing with them while they're fishing, I think it can bore them, and it's like an overload
right.
of information. So if you take the kids out, for instance, and just talk about their days and their life and their friends and what they like to do, that's how I normally with my kids. But my son, my buddy James, you never know where our conversations go. It'll be fishing, cars, trucks, kids, family.
Right. Absolutely. So what we're going to do now, we have a little segment here we call What's Your Favorite? So I'm going to ask a few questions here of what's your favorite. So what's your favorite scripture?
I'll be honest with you, man. For remembering scripture, I've never been good at reading and memorizing stuff. A lot of the stuff that really sticks out with me, I'll say this, is the book of Matthew. That's always I take in a lot of stuff from that. So I have to read that a lot. For me to actually repeat a scripture or remember a scripture, I just can't ever do it. Like even in Bible class, like our Wednesday youth, it was always remember a verse. You had to remember a verse when you came in for the next Wednesday night. And I could just never do it. I could never.
Right.
That's how my mind works. I can't read something and memorize it. I was never good at spelling words, for instance, because of that. But like I say, Matthew is like one of my favorites to read to kind of like get me through a lot of tough times. If I'm having some tough times, tough weeks, months, or a day, you pick your Bible up and I'll just kind of take something random in Matthews and read, and it really helps me get through whatever I'm going through at the time.
Do you have a favorite Bible story?
I don't really have you're talking about a story out of the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I talked about one of them, which is I read. You asked me what was my favorite verse. Well, like I say, I'm not real good at remembering verses, but I always read the book of Matthew. That's a big book for me to read. It's a lot in there that really hits me. But a lot of those stories in that, a lot of the main one was like when the Lord was, when the guys had all these people to feed, and Jesus was there, and we can't feed all these people. What are we going to do? And he's like, pretty much saying, do you trust me? Do you believe in me? Kind of deal. And they all of a sudden had enough food and water to feed everybody. So that's kind of like that's one of those stories that really kind of sticks out in my head. But for a Bible story, for a story in the Bible, that's kind of one of them. Like I put a lot of my faith around everything in the book of Matthew, just because a lot of stuff that's happened in my life. Everything kind of results back to that book for me.
Absolutely. So what's your favorite fish to catch?
I'm going to say smallmouth. Smallmouth bass. That's my grassroots fish. That's what I grew up learning how to catch. And, but doing a lot of bass tournaments, traveling, fishing some of the bass boat events, you didn't have the opportunity to go chasing smallmouth as much as we did. It was mainly largemouth then, but like for me, smallmouth, that's why I'm like back in the kayaking side, because I love chasing smallmouth.
I hear you. So, what's your favorite fish to fish for?
Fish for? Ooh, every once in a while I like going out and going striper fishing. I did catch a really big muskie last year before. I caught a 41 or 42 inch muskie. So I say going fishing for those sometimes can be pretty tricky and fun. You get those in big bait, and watch them fall over the boat and not hit it sometimes. But that's a tough one because like sometimes lake sometimes when during the shad's falling, you get the stripers that come up and feed at night. And you go out there and throw some topwater flows and catch some big stripers. So they're pretty fun to fish for as well.
What's your favorite fish to eat?
I don't eat a whole lot. If I do eat it, like if we go to a pond and catch some catfish, that's something me and James have always liked doing is making, going catch catfish and cooking it pretty much right after,
Right.
On the grill or there by the pond. But yeah, catfish is pretty good. I enjoy eating that. And I was gonna say probably the next one would be tuna. If you get fresh cut tuna,
Right.
Not the stuff you get in the can. Like stuff. We had a guy when I worked at another company. He went out tuna fishing with some friends and brought it back, and we all cooked it on the grill. And that stuff was amazing. That's probably one of the best fish I've ate.
All right. What's your favorite fishing snack?
Fishing snack. Probably I got two: beef jerky or a moon pie.
I hear it. Any particular brand or flavor of jerky?
Just regular teriyaki. I like the Jack Links teriyaki. Now during hunting season, if like I haven't last year, but if I kill a doe or whatever, I'll make it into jerky. So then I'll carry around a lot of deer jerky then.
Definitely. I love me some deer jerky.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not going to ask for GPS coordinates or anything, but what's your favorite body of water to fish?
I was the James River. I mean, there's so many big smallmouth in there. It's some big muskie in there. Yeah, I really love the James River. And when it comes to lakes, just lakes I fish so much, it'd be between like Lake Gaston and Bugs Island. Bugs Island, I love it because you can fish a lot of points. Both those Lake Gaston and Bugs Island fish like a lake should fish to me.
Okay.
There's sometimes they're on points. You can go hit 100 points. You're going to catch a lemon. You might not be a big one, and again you could win a tournament. So, but yeah, I want to say rivers, James River, and then lakes and Bugs Island and Gaston.
Okay. And what is your favorite time of year to fish?
I'm going to say fall. I really like the fall. The fish are doing so much, around that time. There's so much transitioning going on. I mean, the spring is the same way. They're bedding and they're roaming, but they really get lockjaw in the spring at some point after they spawn. So I'm going to say the fall. Fall's really fun. Top water time, cranking, spinnerbait. It all depends on the day,
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. That is getting close to wrapping things up. Before I let you go, do you want to plug any sponsors?
Yeah, we've had some really good sponsors for our show. The last, like I say, going on our 5th year here with Yak Attack and Bonafide, Baino batteries, Power Pole, Missile Bait, Falcon Rods, and AccuCold. They've been some really great companies to work with. And, one of the things I preach all the time when it comes to sponsors and, get in this industry and getting sponsors is try to don't be a sponsor jumper and jump every year. Actually build a relationship with these companies, and we have with them. And they're just been great people, man. They really support us a lot. And I just want to thank my family. Thank the Lord. Because without any of that, none of this is possible anyway. So, my wife and my family have sacrificed a lot for me to be able to chase the dreams that I have. So, I would say they're my number one sponsors anyway. So, I really want to thank them.
Yeah,
but also, I'd like to kind of give a little plug here for One Objective for everybody that's listening. check your podcast out, and also if you get time, go on iTunes, all that. Check out One Objective. We also do Facebook Live on we used to do every Sunday night, but now it's about every other Sunday night. We'll do a live Facebook show. So go on there and check us out, One Objective, and then oneobjectivebf.com.
Absolutely. And what is upcoming for you, and then what's upcoming for One Objective?
Upcoming for me is just, I don't know, just trying to actually grow One Objective more, I guess, We got the Bassmasters Classic coming up, so we go down there and do a lot of media stuff down there, covering the Classic. But mainly, like I say, upcoming for One Objective, we got a lot of irons in the fire right now. We're really trying to grow our product line with our kayak accessories, but we're also trying to grow stronger on the media side with the YouTube and Facebook and all that. That's kind of why we pulled out of tournament fishing this year, which is crazy because some of the best events are going on this year with Bassmasters Classic Kayak Series, and then the whole KBF got some really great events going on right now. So, but next year I think we want back into tournament fishing again. But like I say, One Objective, probably mainly just the product line. That's what we're really trying to kick off and get going. We got some other mounts that are going to be more affordable for people that just want to hurry up and throw a trolling motor in the back of the boat to go. And then we have been doing a lot of custom rigs for people. So they bring us their boats and we rig it out for them. So that's something kind of big starting to grow for us as well. So yeah, I think One Objective's got a bright future with the business side and the media side. So really looking forward to how 2020 is going to be and what it's going to look like in 2021.
Absolutely. So with your kayak mounts and accessories and stuff, are those pretty specific to Bonafide or pretty much anyone?
Well, right now we just started coming out with some stuff for the Vibe, but there for a while, yes, it was mainly like just for the Bonafide stuff because that's what we were in, and people got seen our mounts and wanting them, and we just started making them, and then we've had more people asking, like from Native and Hobie, and we had a lot of people in the Vibe community asking about some mounts. So we're trying to get everything, but boats change so much that you'd have to have $500,000 plus. It seemed like you'll buy a bunch of boats and make mounts for. So
yeah, for sure.
We just kind of make them as we get boats, and but yeah. I mean, we're trying to branch out more. We got a couple more boats. We're doing a wilderness for a guy right now, and so we'll have a plate for that so that people, running a wilderness can run our mounts. But like I said, yeah, the Vibe, and then the other mount we have, which was our One Objective, we call it our universal mount. It fits most boats that have that 4-hole pattern in the back for like power poles. So we got that mount coming out. We're going to come out with an adapter plate for that to fit the Jackson. Yeah, we're reaching out. We're getting more into other brands.
I know you plugged your Facebook and your website. Is there any other social media or any other way that listeners can get in touch with you if you want to put that out there?
Yeah, they can follow us on Instagram, like I said, One Objective, and also on Facebook. We have a TikTok account. They can go on and see some kind of odd end stuff we do. We're not a big TikToker like some of these kids are, but we do have that. And then if anybody has any questions, we do trolling motor mounts for kayak and all that. So if anybody's got any questions, want to reach out to us, or just want to talk fishing, they can always message us on our social medias, but then they can also email us at oneobjectivebf@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on. Had a blast, and wish you the best, man.
I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much for having me on.
You too. Have fun at the Classic.
Thank you, man.
Again, I want to thank Josh for coming on the show and sharing his story with us. If you want to find out more about Josh and One Objective, as well as next week's guest, head on over to oneobjectivebf.com. If you want to see some of their awesome kayak accessories, click the store tab at the top. And if you have not tuned into the One Objective Bass Fishing Podcast, make sure you check them out on whatever app you are listening to. Tune in next week for our interview with Josh's co-host, James Bush. Thanks again, and God bless. Thanks for listening to the Faith in Fishing podcast. If you like this episode, please give it a rating, a review, and make sure to subscribe on whatever app you're listening to so you never miss an episode. You can follow the podcast on social media at facebook.com/faithinfishingpodcast and Instagram at faithinfishingpod. Special thanks and a big shout out to Jonathan Inthelancy for helping me write, play, and record the music for the show, and to Tyler Worrell, the graphic designer behind our amazing logo. If you have any questions about faith, I encourage you to contact a pastor in your community. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, get out there and catch some fish, and I will catch you on the next episode.